All the numbers we know are known as real numbers. We classify real numbers in two big groups: the numbers that we can write as a ratio, which we call rational numbers, and the numbers we cannot write as a ratio, irrational numbers. Some example for irrational numbers are like pi. Which is 3.14159 and keeps on going forever without a particular pattern. So there is no way that we can just write down this number exactly as a fraction. Or such as square root of 5. If we type square root of 5 on our calculator, we would get 2.2367, and it keeps on going forever. The reason that our calculators do not show infinitely many decimal places is it's rounding after a certain point. So if we have any radical, and when we type it, if we are not getting a number without a decimal place, then it's an irrational number. The rational numbers are the numbers that we can write as a fraction, such as 1 over 9, such as negative 2 over 5, such as 0.459. I mean, if the decimal is not repeating, or if it is repeating with a pattern, like if it's a repeating decimal, then we can write them as a ratio, as a fraction. So these are rational numbers. Also, integers are considered as rational numbers because we can think about every integer with having a denominator of 1. So we can write them down as a ratio. So the integer numbers should be a set inside the rational numbers. The integers also contains whole numbers or counting numbers, natural numbers within them, because every counting number is an integer. The counting numbers are numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, keeps on going forever like that without a decimal place. I can write 3 as 3 over 1, so it is going to be a rational number. Also, whole numbers are also integers. Whole numbers do contain also 0 as an integer. And all counting numbers are as well whole numbers as well as integers. The integers also can be negative. Whole numbers and their negatives will make the integers, and the integers are such numbers like negative 2, negative 5, and so on. All the negative integers, the negative numbers are just considered as integers. They are not whole numbers or counting numbers. Counting numbers are 1, 2, 3, and also the counting numbers known as natural numbers. Whole numbers also contain 0, and integers are also containing the negatives of the whole numbers. Since I can write all these numbers as fractions or as a ratio, in other words, then these are considered as rational numbers. For example, 0.4 with a repeating bar on top can be written as 4 over 9, where I can write the decimal 0.459 as 459 over 1000. The whole numbers or integers or counting numbers, all of them, like let's give an example. For example, 3 can be written as 3 over 1, so it should be considered as a rational number. An example STAAR math question related to this topic could be a 2015 question. Which Venn diagram correctly describes the relationship between set R and set W, where set R is given as the real number set and set W is given as the whole number set? The whole numbers are numbers such as 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. They are the non-negative integers. So 0 is also included as a whole number. And real numbers are the numbers all the numbers that we know of so far. So the real numbers should be containing all the whole numbers. All the whole numbers are at the same time should be within the real numbers set. So if I was to draw a correct diagram, if there are the real numbers, then the set of whole numbers should be within the real numbers, because all whole numbers are at the same time real numbers as well. So the correct answer for this question would be B. Let's look at another question, which shows the number subsets to which the number negative square root of 144 belongs. Usually, the radicals that we will have will be irrational numbers, unless they are equal to an integer. Because we have a perfect square inside this radical, if we evaluate this number, negative square root control x squared of 144, then we will get an integer as an equivalent. So this one does not contain, this number does not contain a decimal place that keeps on going forever. So it is going to be a rational number. So this number equals negative 12. So this number is obviously an integer. It's not going to be a whole number or natural number or counting number because it's negative. But we know that it's a rational number at the same time because I can write it as a ratio. And all the numbers we know of are real numbers. So the correct answer that gives me them all is B. On A, it says irrational, so that's why it's not the answer. It's not a whole number because whole numbers are 0 and positive integers. So a negative integer won't be a whole number at the same time. So B is obviously the correct answer here. One other type of question related to real numbers is ordering some decimals or fractions, or ordering some real numbers. When we are answering these type of questions, we are going to convert all the numbers to decimal form in order to list them from least to greatest or greatest to least in an easier way. Let's read this problem. 4 students are trying to raise the same amount of money for a class trip. The table below shows how much of each student's goal has been met. Which list shows the numbers in the table in order from least to greatest? Please underline the keywords when you're solving the problem. The first number for Chelsea is already given to us in decimal form. So I'm not going to do anything about this one. However, I'm going to convert 2/3 into decimal. So I'm going to write control divided by will give me a fraction, 2/3. And when I press enter, the calculator TI Inspire gives me a fraction. So if you press control and enter, it will give you the equivalent decimal form, which is 0.67. So I'm rounding it to the nearest hundredth here. So the third number that I have is 5/8. 5/8 is going to be 0.625. In order to convert percentages to decimals, we can just write it down as a fraction. We know that percent means per hundred. So 65% is really 65/100. So let's convert that to decimal form. 65/100 is equal to 0.65. 0.65. Now you don't need to, but you can just complete all of them to 3 decimal places if you like. Well, if we now order these numbers from least to greatest, obviously 5/8 is going to be the least one. 5/8 is going to be the least one, as you see. Next number is going to be 65%. And the next one is going to be 2/3. And the largest one is 0.7. And this answer is given to me on the answer choice sheet. If we are asked to place an irrational number on a number line, then what we are going to do is we will convert it first to decimal form, because it's hard to see what this number is actually equal to. So let's convert square root of 92 into decimal form. 9.59. 9.59, and it keeps on going. So I can just round it to the nearest tenth as 9.6. And on the number line, as you see, I can place this number, so 9 and 10, so the middle I'll have 9.5. This number is slightly greater than 9.5, so point P is how I'm going to what I'm going to choose for 9.6. One last question we are going to solve together is a 2014 STAAR question. Carlos has a square tablecloth with a total area 48 square feet. Which measurement is closest to the length of each side of the tablecloth in feet? So in order to answer this question, we need to know that if we are given the area of a square, we need to square root that area in order to find a side of the square. So the side of the square is going to be square root of 48. So we can evaluate square root of 48 here. So control x squared, square root of 48 is going to be about 6.93. 6.93. About 6.93. Well, the closest answer to that is given on D. Now, please answer your review quiz questions.